Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crime Time, and I'm Alice Neary. I was a crime scene cleaner in Naples for 19 years. I owned my own corporation named A. Neary Biohazard Company. I recently was forced to retire due to some serious health conditions, and everyone kept telling me, Alice, you have to write a book. Well, I didn't want to go that route. I decided to start a YouTube channel and talk about my scenes, the good, the bad, and unfortunately the ugly. Now, let me start off by saying that I don't edit my videos. I know nothing about editing, so you're going to see me just the way it is. So if I make mistakes, please bear with me. And when I get more comfortable talking on camera, then hopefully I won't be doing that anymore. So let me tell you about myself. I am 55 years old. I was born in Spring Lake on the Jersey Shore, and we owned Neary Funeral Home in Manasquan. My grandfather had owned it for many years, and then my father owned it for 46 years until he retired. Now, from an early age, I was always interested in death, how someone died, things like that. And when my father would come home for lunch, we lived in a house right next door to the funeral home, and he would come home and he would bring the files that he had for the funerals next door. And I would read those files from front to back. I wanted to know the age of the person. I wanted to know how they died. I wanted to know if they were going to be cremated or buried. And if they were buried, what kind of casket did they pick out? And, how many limos did they rent? I was very interested in details of that. Now, when I got older, my father offered me the funeral home. I had 4 much older brothers, and, none of them wanted it. So then it was my turn. And my father explained to me that I would have to start at the bottom. I can't just walk in and, get right on the top. So being on the bottom means you have to do, all the removals, whether it's, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to go pick up the body. And the famous leaf blower. So the bottom guy always had to use the big leaf blower to blow leaves off outside and make the funeral home always look beautiful. I did not want to be the leaf guy. So I declined, and I moved to Florida when I was 18. A few years later, I had met my husband. We were together for 25 years, and we have a 26-year-old son named Blaine, who, of course, I am very proud of. And also at that time, I had met and we had become best friends, my friend Tracy. She actually just lived right down the street from us on the same road. And we lived way out in the country. And so we would talk to each other at our gates, and, instead of driving all the way up to the house. And we would always sit and talk about, the ID channel. People, come on. The ID channel. Great shows. It was always on my TV 24/7. I was very interested at this time with autopsies and things like that. So, tragically, something really terrible happened in my husband's family. And, I had spoken to one of the family members, and they had said to me, Alice, now I got to go in there and clean all this up. And I felt really bad for her because she couldn't afford a biohazard company. They were way too expensive. I mean, we're talking, $20,000, $30,000. So she unfortunately had to clean it up herself. Now, Tracy and I had talked about this quite a bit. And we thought that we could open up our own biohazard company. We could handle cleaning up blood and stuff like that. And, we wanted to do it where it was affordable for everyone. It didn't matter if you were wealthy, you could afford this professional service. It's like they just, they're victims. They just lost their loved one. And now, we felt that they were being victimized again by being charged, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So we were going to be, our motto was cleaning with compassion. And Tracy showed up at my gate one day. It was 2 weeks after I had just buried my father. And she said, Alice, let's do this. Let's start our own biohazard company. So we did. We went down to the courthouse one day. I think it was like $75. And we got a business license. We got registered on Sunbiz. We got insurance and got a biohazard company that would pick up our biohazard waste. And Tracy advertised. She was very good at it. She put our company name and information in many phone books. Back then it was phone books. And, we were put in every phone book all around in every town. And that was, totally Tracy. She was very good at doing that. And finally, we got our first scene. Now, let me tell you a little bit about biohazard. If you want to start your own biohazard company, I think that's great. I support it 100%. The money is phenomenal. I was still a lot cheaper than other companies. And, some scenes I was making up to $2,000 an hour. So I can only imagine what other companies were charging and making. And also, you really have to think about the emotional part of this profession. It is extremely difficult. As you know, police officers have a high suicide rate, and it's because of the things they've seen. And we're right there as well. We're talking to the client, which is extremely difficult. And I chose not to do that. Tracy was really good at talking to the clients. She knew what to say and what not to say. And I just wanted nothing to do with that. I had just buried my father. I lost my mother when I was 21. I really didn't want to get into that emotion. So I put the walls up. I didn't want to speak to clients. I just wanted to, clean the place. And by the way, you don't do a lot of cleaning. You rip things up. You're wearing that Tyvek suit, the shield, the gloves, the booties. It's extremely hot. And we ripped things out. We ripped walls and ceilings and toilets and tubs and doors, and, you biomedically, dispose of that according to the laws of your state. And so it was really a lot of hard work. But the emotion part of it was, I would say, the most difficult. The victims, I call, are the ones that are left behind. The family members, the friends that have lost their loved one in such a tragic way. They are the people that gave me nightmares. It was never the blood, the brain matter. It was never any of that. It was face to face speaking with a client, and they are sobbing and they are so distraught. That is what gives me nightmares, and that is really difficult to deal with. So if you want to start your own company, just keep that in mind, okay? It's just quite a bit to deal with. So Tracy and I, we got the call. Now, we decided very early that, the calls would go to Tracy. Again, she was very good with talking to clients. So it was great that she was handling the calls. Now, we would do our best, or shall I say Tracy would do her best, to try to find out, the method that maybe they killed themselves, or if they were murdered, how were they murdered? Were they stabbed, or were they shot? If they were shot, we needed to know the caliber, of the gun. That told us quite a bit about the scene. If they're using a shotgun or a .357 Magnum, then we know that it's going to be a large scene. We know certain tools that we need to bring, and we also need to know how long we're going to be there, because we traveled all over the state of Florida. We were for a long time just hotel to hotel. I remember one time we got 5 scenes in 7 days, and they were all over Florida, and that was so exhausting. So she took the call, and she came and picked me up, and we drove to the scene. Now, it happened to be a motel. Now, keep in mind, this was our first scene now. And we pull up, and my Lord, it was just like Bates Motel. Run down, needed a paint job, out in the middle of nowhere, scary as all get out. So we pull in, and we go into the office, and we talk to the manager. Now, again, I'm sitting back, that wall's up. I don't want to deal with that. And come to find out, the scene was a woman that happened to be a schizophrenic. I guess she was off her medications, and she ended up killing her daughter in one of the hotel rooms. Now, look, people, it's been 19 years. I'm not going to remember all the details. If I get, the year wrong or the age of somebody, please forgive me. It's just been so long, and I don't remember everything like I used to. And so we get the keys, and we go into the room, and the room is just like the outside. Looks just like Bates Motel. The carpet, my God, that carpet. If you want to call it carpet, there was, the foam had been wore out. The carpet was so thin, it needed to be replaced. The comforter on the bed was, 20, 30 years old. The curtains were old. It wasn't the greatest. But, so what we looked at was a coloring book that was on the ground. The little girl must have been coloring. And there were crayons sprawled out all over the place. There was quite a bit of blood. There was blood spatter on the coloring book. There was blood spatter on the wall. And what was the most disturbing was the little girl's handprint. I think she was about 4 years old. And she had left a bloody handprint on the wall. So that, for being our first scene, that was pretty powerful. I could see on Tracy's face that she was really bothered by it. And of course, I was as well. And so we gave our estimate, and we happened to not get that scene, which was okay with us. Tracy said actually to me, I'm glad we didn't get that scene. I don't know if we could handle that on our first one. It's just too emotional. And so we didn't get it. And Tracy and I were business for several years. We were actually just about to be featured on Dirty Jobs, if anybody remembers that old show. And we were also in, starting to talk with Walmart, and they were interested in our services for all the Walmarts in Florida. So that would have really skyrocketed our corporation. Well, unfortunately, Tracy and I got into an argument that we just couldn't recover from. So we ended up going our separate ways. I ended up opening up my own corporation called A. Neary Biohazard Company, which that's, I'm wearing the shirt. And then I ended up getting divorced from my husband. And unfortunately, there was some domestic violence. And my son and I had to go into hiding for a year. And so after that, I, started doing my business. And it as well became very successful. And then, like I said, I had some very serious health conditions that, I couldn't do it anymore. So what's going to be on this YouTube channel? I am going to have guests on here. I'm going to have some of my employees that I'll be interacting with. We'll be talking about some funny things that happened on scene, things that got us, emotionally upset. It's going to be good to see a different perspective of a scene. And hopefully I will have a client or two on here. I am still good friends with a couple clients of mine, which I find really remarkable. The way I look at it is, who on earth would want to be friends with me? I'm the crime scene cleaner that reminds you of a terrible incident that happened in your family. And one of my clients said something that meant a lot to me. She said, Alice, you helped our family. We will forever be grateful for what you did for us. And you think about it, if I didn't clean it, someone in her family would have done it, or a friend of the family. And why is that? That's just awful. That's their last image of their loved one. And because I'm affordable, people can have me do it, and they can at least not worry about that. Now, what you won't see here is I have never in 19 years shown anyone any kind of blood or gore or anything like that. Other biohazard companies choose to do that. They choose to put videos. It's all out there, the blood, the gore. And I've always been against that. It makes me wonder, are the clients watching that? Did you get permission from the client to be showing all this? When a client hired me, that is a contract. And, I'm not there's privacy issues. There's confidentiality issues. I am not going to betray my client's trust and show such gore. So if you're here to watch that kind of stuff, that's not going to happen. I will show some pictures of me in a biosuit, me on scene, but not blood and brain matter and things like that. It's not going to happen. I've never done it, and I'm not going to start now. So this channel is me, not the fancy stuff. Like, I don't even know how to edit, so I'm not going to sit there and stop you from seeing things. Here it is. So if you like what you hear and you think you might be interested in future videos, push the like button, follow me. I would greatly appreciate it. And hopefully you'll come back. So if you do, that's great. And I'm really excited, and I really have some, great things to talk to you about. 19 years of some crazy things. Now, look, I want to tell you, there are two questions that always people seem to ask. I can understand one of them, but the other one, I will just never get it. The main one that people ask is the body there when you go on scene? No, the body's gone, but there's a lot left behind. Lots of brain matter, a great deal of blood. So you see pieces. I've actually seen some other pieces that I will talk about in a future video. And the other question, which is the one that I will never understand, is who pays you? So the property owner pays me. Whether it is a home or an apartment or a condo, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to pay me. Now, it's usually covered by insurance. Mostly there's a small deductible of about $1,000, and then the client, only has to pay that $1,000. So I'm also going to add those questions that I know people have in my videos every time. And so that's it. Thank you for watching Crime Time. And again, I am Alice Neary. Take care.